6 minutes past the top of the hour. Mornings with Joe Catenacci heads into its final hour of the work week here on Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM. We thank Step Up for Soldiers stopping by last segment. Again, steering around the political conversation this morning. Always highlighting news, events going on around our community. And this next guest here this morning going to totally switch gears and throw you a curveball because growing up, playing baseball and having a passion for the game, I was always a good two-strike curveball hitter. So we're going to throw you another curveball with our next guest. It's the first time you're hearing him on the new Big Talker. He's joined us in prior years. His name is Steve Melia. He's a motivational speaker, an author, a comedian, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist. He does it all. He's all over the country, and he's got a big announcement. He once called Wilmington his home. He's now out on the left coast in San Diego, where he resides, but doing great things, whether that be in his community, raising money for great causes. And he is about to embark on a massive journey over the next 6 months. And Steve, will welcome him in. Steve Melia, the 162 guy. Steve, what's going on, my man? It's been a long time. It's good to catch up with you this morning.
It is, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. Congratulations on your new show, and just excited, and thanks for letting me use your show to be the avenue where I make this big announcement. I'm excited.
Yeah, we are making a huge announcement here today, as I said, on what Steve is about to embark on. Back in 2011, Steve took a year off from work and attended all 162 New York Yankee games of that season. Yes, both home and away games, all 162 games. He penned a book highlighting his experiences, and here we are now 7 years later. And what is going on now as we get ready for Major League Baseball season? What went into making this announcement and what you are about to head out on here over the next 6 months?
Sure, Joe. First of all, the only thing that was disappointing that year was the Yankees lost in 5 games to Detroit. And so, I know you're an avid Yankee fan like myself. And so with the addition of Stanton and the amazing season the Yankees had last year, I decided along with my girlfriend that we are going to break what I believe is a world record. I don't think anyone claims to have been to more games than me consecutively at 176, counting the playoffs and the games the next year. So we're making the commitment that this year we are going to start on opening day in Toronto. We're going to do the whole season one more time, and we're super excited about it. The really big thing that we're doing in addition to that is we're going to be doing, we're calling it the New York Yankee 162 home run pledge. So we're asking fellow Yankee fans or just baseball fans in general to pledge along with us. And every time the New York Yankees hit a home run, we picked a couple charities, one being the New York City Firefighters Association and the Wounded Warriors program, where every time a Yankee hits a home run the entire season, whether a fan pledges 50 cents or $1 or maybe a company pledges $5 or $10, our goal is to raise $162,000 over the baseball season, and it's just a great way for us to give back in addition to just having an amazing 6-month journey.
New York City Firefighters Association, the Wounded Warrior Project, raising money as you're about to head out to Toronto here in just a couple of months for opening day. 162 games. First and foremost, how do you make time and support yourself when you're out on the road for 6 months out of the year?
Well, sure. I've been in business, Joe, for many years. I mean, I've been with a company called Legal Shield for 20 years, and one of the things I've been able to do is to build up a residual income and to build up some leveraged income, which is great. So it gives me some time and flexibility. And then last year I launched a podcast called The 162 Experience, where I'm going to be traveling around once a week doing a show and interviewing people that have been successful in business, sports, and life. And so that's sort of the idea. And it's not easy. It's on the road is expensive, and it can be exhausting. And so pray for me. I'll be, if you're watching a game, I'll be there, and I'll probably be going Facebook Live. I didn't really use social media that much. It wasn't really the same as it is 7 years ago as it is today. So just keeping my fingers crossed, starting in Toronto and finishing up in Boston.
Yeah, and what a journey it will be. How do you go about the logistics of this? This is a 162-game season. They play 3 games at a time on the road, or whether that be in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium. What goes into the planning of this? I'm sure the planning, putting this together has been many weeks in advance here.
Yeah, sure. This time I do have my girlfriend who has a history of event planning and such is going to be teaming up with me, and so she is really hopefully in charge of the logistics. But there's a lot of things that can go right and go wrong. As you know, as a baseball fan, there's rainouts, games get canceled, and so you really got to be very intentional when you either book a flight or you are looking at, okay, there's a day off here, so if it gets rained out, they could possibly rain it out there. So you got to be flexible. Last time I only really booked flights about 3 or 4 weeks in advance, but my girlfriend's got us booked all the flights through June already because we get a lot better deal on that. And then you just start looking at the away cities, and it looks like a very fun schedule. They're going to Miami this year. They're going to be in Philly. They're going to be in D.C., and you start going from city to city saying, you know what, we could stay with friends in Toronto. Let's stay with friends in Detroit. And you start looking at it. I think it's 19 different ballparks that we're going to be visiting this year. And, different people have different things that get them excited. The more I think about it, the closer that we get, I'm so jacked, and I'm very blessed to be able to do this. And just can't wait to get started.
Yeah, the more and more you talk about this, the more and more jealous I get of your journey for this 162-game schedule ahead. As a baseball guy, truly understand that grind, and you're going to be on that grind, as you said, day-night games and following long road trips from one city to the next. We're here with Steve Melia, and Steve is heading out to all 162 regular season baseball games for the New York Yankees this year, raising money, of course, as the New York Yankees, the Bronx Bombers as they're known, and they've got a gruesome lineup to go through, and he's going to be donating, along with your help, money to every home run hit this year by the New York Yankees to the New York City Firefighters Association, along with the Wounded Warrior Project. I think it's a great thing that you're adding a little philanthropy to this journey. And as I remember when you went on this journey the first time, and some of the cool stories that you have just running into different players. And, I mean, you see them every day, day in and day out, taking the field. And I'm sure you're going to have some other epic stories to tell following this trip that you'll be able to hold on for a lifetime, and then, again, share with different fans the experiences that you've had. And let's take a break here this morning as we'll catch up again with Steve Melia after the break. We're talking about his journey, all 162 New York Yankees games during the regular season. This author, motivational speaker, comedian, he does it all. He's an entrepreneur. He's raising money for the New York City Firefighters Association along with the Wounded Warrior Project as he and his girlfriend set their sights on all 162 regular season games, hopefully the playoffs and the World Series. For you New York Yankees fans out there, again, still a little offended in this day and age that they call a team the Yankees. I mean, that's an offensive word for those who live in the North. Heaven forbid. Talked with Basil yesterday about the Chief Wahoo logo. We'll catch up with Steve Melia more after the break here on the Big Talker FM.
The stadium was built by Ruth, the Iron Horse was in his youth, the Yankees lineup was a murderer's row. Then after Huggins' reign, they were champions again, when winning became the only game from Martha to Joe. I'm talking baseball, Bill Dickey and Lazzari, Yankee baseball, Henrik, Andy Carey, Reynolds, Rashi, Goofy's bag of tricks. They knew him in the apple and the sticks, like the Bambino, the Clipper and the Mick.
19 minutes past the hour here this morning. We're talking with the 162 guy, Steve Melia. He's heading out to all 162 regular season games for the New York Yankees this year. And he embarked on this journey 7 years ago, doing it again now in tow with his girlfriend and raising money for the New York City Firefighters Association along with the Wounded Warrior Project. Steve is all over the country, traveling for work, traveling for play, and he's getting set for a 6-month journey now, all 162 games. Steve, as you kind of reflect on what the journey was like 7 years ago, obviously some different circumstances now. You have a significant other next to you, so no more sleeping on the couch of your buddy's house. You're going to have a bed that fits two at least. But with that said, tell me one of the, maybe one or two of the stories that, really resonated with you during that first trip 7 years ago to all 162 games.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much, Joe. One of the things in my book that really stood out that people sort of resonated with more than anything was my relationship with my dad. At the time he was 86, and when I left on the journey, he was, you could tell he wasn't going to be around much longer. And the interesting thing about going away for 6 or 7 months, like you're one of the players or like you're one of the coaches, it's life on the road. It's hard because you're traveling, but it's just as hard because you're not dealing with your day-to-day things. You're disciplining your kids or being there to drive them around, or just life in general, having all of your bills just being, paid without, even really thinking about it, those kind of things. So it's really, so that is one of probably the toughest parts, is just dealing with the rest of your life when you sort of have to go to a baseball game. And, the funny thing is for me, it's having total freedom to be able to do this. But once you start doing it, there's no freedom. You got to be somewhere every single day and in a different city. But I love it. Just the adrenaline and the juices flowing. And of course, the year that 2011 was a great year as a Yankee fan, because Derek Jeter hit number 3,000, and that was probably the most thrilling story. I remember exactly where I was sitting. I remember where I parked that day. I remember waking up that morning, and just memories like that. That will certainly last a lifetime. And then it was Jorge Posada's last year, and it was the year that Mariano Rivera broke the saves record. So as a sports fan, it was just fantastic. And, I get asked a lot, what was your favorite stadium or ballpark? And, Yankee fans might not like me saying this, but I love going to Fenway. There's nothing more exciting than walking up and all of the, the Red Sox stuff everywhere and people yelling and booing at you. And I tell you, once you get past the first couple of jabs, they're great. They're real baseball fans, and they're hanging on every pitch. It could be 13-0. The Red Sox could be 10 games out of first place or ahead of the Yankees, and every pitch they're just like oohing and on and screaming and stuff. So going to Fenway is probably the thing that I look forward to the most again this year.
Yeah, as an avid baseball traveler myself, I would say definitely Fenway Park is a must-go for any baseball fan, father, son, anybody that is in tune with the game and has been involved in that, whether that be playing as a kid or reliving those dreams and having an opportunity to play at a higher level. No place like Fenway Park. And considering the age of this ballpark, it is in incredible condition, and just the amenities around it and inside of it, you would expect just from a logistic standpoint, getting around in there would be a little bit more tough than it is. It's actually wide open underneath the at least in the right field side where I've sat before. It's wide open and allows, a great fan experience. And yeah, indeed, Fenway Park, granted the old Yankee Stadium gave it a good push for its money, but now that it's a little bit more corporate, a little bit more new, there's sushi shops and steak joints inside the stadium, a little bit different, the lore of what Yankee Stadium was and what it is now. Compared to when you're talking Fenway Park, but there are some great ballparks across the area. My own little 162 story wasn't typically 162, but Derek Jeter's final season, my wife and I went to 7 different ballparks to go see Derek Jeter play in his last game, and one of the best opportunities was to go out to Southern California to Anaheim to see him play the Angels. Had a few connections out there, got us great seats right on the third base side. And to be around, the Yankees and the ball club, and to go to 7 different stadiums to see, a guy that, I idolized growing up in Derek Jeter, experiences that I'll never forget, along with attending Game 3 of the World Series in 2001 when President Bush threw out that historic first pitch after 9/11. Those are the types of things that sporting events are supposed to make you, bring you those experiences. Today, we tend to steer into the realm of whatever issues they want to take up now, some of these athletes, but sporting events are meant for fans to enjoy the entertainment, enjoy the high level of play. And I think as you, allotted to, I remember talking to you years ago, one of the big things was, being able to catch up with some of these players, shooting billiards in the team hotel, or some of the other stories, just having chance run-ins with some of these players off the field, and just seeing that, they're wealthy one percenters, but at the end of the day, they're just normal guys, just like you and I.
Yeah, for sure, and especially this young crew too. I mean, they just have so much enthusiasm for the game. And, if you've ever watched Aaron Judge do an interview, and I know you have, he's probably the most humble person I've ever seen. He will never he never toot his own horn or take credit. It's always about the team. He'll hit 3 home runs in a game, and he'll say, no, if it wasn't for the team behind me, I wouldn't be able to hit those home runs. And so that's what's exciting. I mean, even as I'm talking about it right now, Joe, it's just it's going to be a fun year. Aaron Boone, the new manager of the Yankees, I had a chance to have his brother, Brett Boone, on my podcast about a year ago. And, of course, not knowing that Aaron was going to be the next manager. And sitting with Brett was really one of the highlights of anything I've ever done. He talked about what it was like to face, Roger Clemens, and what it was like to grow up with Pete Rose and sleep over at Pete Rose's house. And he just literally had all these stories. And so the Boones are probably, I can't even think of another baseball family that's more in the game and has been part of the game over the last 30, 40 years. So it's going to be very interesting to see a guy with literally no managerial experience taking over arguably the most, storied franchise in the history of sports.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about, for baseball fans and for those who may not be interested in the game, why the game of baseball has been so attractive and so giving to you.
I remember probably like a lot of people do when they first, their first memory of going to a baseball game. And I just, I can remember, walking through the turnstiles and just seeing the grass for the first time. And I think for many people, it really brings them back to childhood memories or very pleasant memories. And I think that's the biggest connection for a lot of people. And probably the thing that I do enjoy most is sit next to somebody, especially somebody from that city, say I'm in, Cleveland or Detroit or Minnesota, wherever, and just talking to somebody and, they're giving me sort of the scouting report on their team and what's going on, but just realizing that, hey, we're all people, we're all, here for the same reason. And, one of the things that was probably a negative is just when people go to the ballpark and, maybe they've had one too many or whatever, but just people really getting nasty and violent with each other. And it's like, yeah, it's a game. And so when you go to 162 in a row, you really are able to mellow out a little bit more and take the highs and the lows with a little grain of salt, if that makes sense. And it's just one thing that I always try to stay away from is not to engage. Somebody says something rude, you just you don't say anything at all, you just smile back at them. But certainly we're all here to have a great time, and baseball is a wonderful pastime that we can all enjoy together.
Well, I was going to say before, you met your girlfriend, I was going to say, you just, give a wink at the drunk guy and then, take a look at the girl and say, hey, you want to come with a man or you want to, be with a derelict? Steve Melia with us here this morning. He is about to embark on a great journey. 162 regular season baseball games. Hopefully the playoffs and a World Series championship will end that in late October, early November. Big New York Yankees fan, and he's going to all 162 regular season New York Yankees games. Steve, how can people follow your journey? How can they tune into your podcast? I would say that this is a baseball enthusiast, is a perfect fit for somebody that loves to follow sports and loves to stay out of the riffraff of what sports brings us and just gives you the most natural, experience possible.
Sure. Yeah, it's real simple, Joe. It's just my website is the162guy.com. the162guy.com, and we're going to have right on the front of the website will be like this big thermometer and of how much we're raising. And so the goal is to be up to $100 worth of pledges by opening day. So really for the next 2 months, I'm just going to be getting a story out and everywhere I go talking about it. And to ask somebody to pledge 50 cents or $1 is really just a couple of $100 depending on how many home runs the Yankees hit. And so that's really going to be the thing that we're talking about the most. And I think that's going to cause a big buzz. And, I hope to get Aaron Judge or maybe Stanton to do a quick video for us and say, hey, support the Firefighters Association and support the Wounded Warriors Project every time we hit a home run. And so, the162guy.com, and look forward to connecting with as many people as possible. And if you're if you know people that are in a city and they are looking to house 2 fun people, and we're going to bring our dog with us too. I haven't even said that. We've got a big Labradoodle.
All right.
And she's going to be traveling all over the country with us. We don't think we're going to bring her to the stadium.
Steve, we got to rock, brother. We got to rock. 162guy.com. Follow him. We'll follow his journey. We'll be back after this.